Good afternoon. I'm Gloria Nelson with TUG. And as you settle in this afternoon and get ready for the start of today's webinar, let me give you a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org for both our current members and those of you who are not yet members of our organization and users of Infor distribution software. We've all heard that phrase that knowledge is power, and I can say with confidence that after today's presentation, you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. And today is but one presentation in our TUG Connects 365 series. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. And that is a powerful combination. If you're already a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please join our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do. I'd also like to share with you that the folks here at UnForm have given you permission with their intellectual property to go ahead and take screenshots or copy and paste the chat. And so at this time, I'd like to go on and say it is our pleasure to welcome everyone to today's TUG Connects 365 program. Alan Miglore and Paul Boushell, who join us today from UnForm with their wealth of knowledge, are going to be sharing about the attributes of CirrusPrint and how cloud printing is made easy. Paul, I'm going ahead and turning things over to you.
Thank you, Gloria.
And have you all in Sightline?
Oh, very good. So today we're going to review CirrusPrint and how you can make that work for you to make your life easier when you're trying to print from the cloud. It is just from a quick overview, it's used to deliver the print output from your ERP, whether it's Cloud Suite or some other ERP, and there's a variety of ways to configure it to make it so that it's very easy to set up and use. So it can take output from a variety of sources, emails, file drops, whatever it is. CirrusPrint would then take it up and deliver it where it needs to go, and it can deliver it to standard printers, so you don't need email capable printers. It can certainly deliver to email printers as well. You can also have print output go directly to a mobile device or a desktop and user. So it's again very easy to configure, very flexible to set it up and get things rolling. It's also very fast and secure. So it's a very good way if you do have some remote locations that have bandwidth issues, you can dramatically speed up the print process when you're going out to those remote locations. It also does replace Google Cloud Print. And again, it's very easy integration and it can be integrated with a variety of applications and those integration methods are very flexible. And you need it primarily so that you can rest easy knowing that your printing is going to work. It's fault tolerant, it's stateless, so if something happens and a location's down, once the location comes back up, they get their print jobs. You don't have to go back and re-queue stuff to get it there. If you've got complicated and advanced type print functionality you're using, if you're printing the multiple trays, if you're duplex printing and doing all those kinds of things, you can rest easy knowing that you can continue to do that. So it's not going to remove any of those kinds of functionality that you need to be able to run your business. And we are logging the entire process. So if something should happen, you got a way to go back and figure out what that was and figure out what you need to do to resolve whatever the problem is. And Gloria, I think before we get going, I think this would be a good place to do a quick poll so we can get a feel for some of the things. So the first question is, are you planning on moving any of your business applications to the cloud? It's simply yes or no. And again, it's a very simple way to help you migrate that printing when you're moving those applications to the cloud. And again, it does replace Google Print. So hopefully you have a plan in place already if you're counting on that. But if your implementation's coming up, we can certainly help you. Oh, very good. So we've got one more quick question we'd like to ask. Gloria, if you want to throw the next polling question up there. So one of the things too about CirrusPrint is that you can continue to use whatever printers you're using today. So you don't have to go out and replace all of your printers with email capable printers. You certainly, can, because it works with those as well. But we've run into cases where we've got customers that have a lot of printers, and having to go replace all those printers would be a significant investment that they might not necessarily be ready to do at this point. So you can continue to use standard printers, and everything works just great. Okay, so it looks like half and half, so that's good. So that means some of our message is getting out there to at least half of you. So at this point, what I'm going to do is turn this over to Alan, and Alan's going to kind of explain some of the concepts real quick behind how it's set up in the architecture, and then he's going to step you through the software itself so you can see how it works. So Alan, it's all yours.
Okay, I will share my screen and pick it up from here. Let me move some things out of the way here. Okay, so CirrusPrint is made up of several components. There is a server piece that you install on a machine somewhere. It can be in your network, or it can be on AWS or Azure, basically anywhere. The only requirement is that it is something that the system clients and browser clients, which are the other components, that they can reach through an HTTPS connection. So essentially what a web browser would do. The system client, or I'm sorry, the CirrusPrint server, its job is to receive print jobs and parse them out, figure out where they're going to go, and then monitor for connections coming in from the clients and deliver those jobs out to those clients. There's two clients. There's a system client, which is essentially a software program that runs on a computer. It does get installed. It can run as a service or as a desktop application, and that client is what's responsible for actually delivering the print jobs out to the devices. There's also a browser client, which is something that is an HTML5 application, offline capable. It's responsive, so it runs on mobile and desktop. And that is essentially, it gives your users the ability to be kind of virtual printers, and they can manage the print output from their browser and view it and so forth. We designed CirrusPrint to be both fast through some real powerful compression techniques, and reliable. It's fault tolerant. The server stays running 24/7. The clients don't have to be connected all the time. The server will be what is collecting and spooling things for the ERP. And then the clients, as they can connect in through their internet connections, they can connect in and receive those jobs. Basically, ERP operations can continue without any interruption as far as printing goes. So the clients, if they lose the connection, automatically reconnect. The documents get queued at the server until the clients can come pick them up. And then there's even queuing out at the client in cases like when the printer's down. The client will queue it and then deliver it to the output device when that's ready. We designed this so that you could avoid using VPNs or complex firewall rules and so forth. You just need a single port open on the server. The clients, both browser and system clients, they connect to the server via an HTTPS connection that's upstream from their location. So you don't have to deal with port forwarding rules and things like that. It's no different than a web browser connecting up to a web server. Another thing that we do is support the different print formats, PCL5, PCL6, PostScript, and so forth. Those are understood by CirrusPrint, so that enables pass-through printing. But if we receive some, say, a PDF file and we need to convert that to PCL5 to get out to a printer, we can do that automatically. Everything is configured through a web browser talking to the web server. There's an administrative tool for that. And all the actions, all the clients, all the administration, everything is done through that browser port. There's also an API, which we take advantage of in several situations. UnForm is able to talk to CirrusPrint using the API, which saves some of the headaches of configuration and setting up additional ports and that sort of thing. Important features. Mentioned before that we understand PCL5, PCL6, PostScript, and so forth. So if a print job comes in that is already in a format that the printer requires or understands, we can pass it straight through. And where that comes into play is if you've got duplexing or trace selection in your print jobs, those will pass on to the printer. Also, if you're doing check printing, you don't want any scaling whatsoever when you're doing check printing, and so you don't really want to go through a PDF printing mechanism. You want that PCL to go straight to the printer. So that's a precision feature that CirrusPrint supports. Also, when we do get something like, say, a PDF or an image file, and we know that's not supported directly by a printer, we'll auto convert that to the appropriate format. So that works well when we get PDFs by email and we want to send those on to a printer that maybe only understands PCL6, no problem, we'll convert that PDF to PCL6 to get it to the printer. And privacy is also an important feature. You run CirrusPrint in servers that you control. It's not a cloud service where there's a third-party vendor involved or anything like that. That became an issue with some of our customers doing HR work. They couldn't use Google Cloud Print or a third-party service. They needed the control of that data from end to end. So they're running CirrusPrint on their own servers. Likewise, the email addresses that you use are those that you control on your mail server. You're not going to a vendor, a printer vendor, and working through their data center and dealing with whatever the performance issues might be of a consumer service like that. Instead, you're using your own mail server. And again, we use HTTPS throughout the whole process, and you don't need a VPN in order to integrate your remote printers with your ERP. Another thing that's important to note, we've been talking about printing, but actually CirrusPrint also can deliver files to file systems and to programs out at remote client locations or to mobile users. So why don't we stop for some Q&A?
Alan, we did have we did have one question that came in, and the question was, can you use CirrusPrint in a hybrid environment? I mean, using cloud with a local DB.
Sure. CirrusPrint is just it's a network server. So wherever it is, as long as your clients can get to it, and as long as in the case of email for printing, as long as it can talk to your mail server, it works just fine. If it's inside your network, you might need to open up a port on your firewall and possibly do a port forward so that you can the external users can get into the CirrusPrint server. But that's really about it.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. We are going to have another Q&A session after the presentation too. So.
Okay, so I'll jump into the demo. Got several things I want to cover. I'm gonna break out of PowerPoint here. So first thing to take a look at is the CirrusPrint server. Now I mentioned that it's administered through a web browser, so that's what we're doing right here. We've got a demo CirrusPrint server out there in the cloud. And the arrangement of CirrusPrint is multiple companies, and then within companies, locations. And locations are one of two types. We've got our browser users and we've got our system clients. Now I've got a system client running on my PC here. It has to log in. So there's authentication built into here, and it's talking to this server via HTTPS. And that system client is connected up basically all the time. It's maintaining a static or a static connection, a permanent connection up to the server, and just is waiting for jobs to come to it. Then we have, under each location, we have output devices. So each of these locations has one or more output devices. Browser users only have a single output device, but a location client like my PC here can have any number of output devices. And these represent printers or file system locations that we want to print jobs to. So here's an example of a printer. This is named home PTR. It's actually going to go to a printer named Talon PTR, or I'm sorry, Talon Printer, which is this guy right here. I've got the queue open for it and paused. And I'm always going to send it PCL6. The PCL6 can be coming in from an outside source like a print driver or UnForm even. And if we do PCL6, we're not going to do any translation. It'll just go straight to the printer. However, if we get a PDF, we'll convert it to PCL6 because we know that's what that printer wants. Then I've also got a file system location. We have a rich naming convention. You can see in here, I'm going to my desktop. There's a folder called CP files there, and I'm going to build a file name based on what is coming across for the job. And that's this folder right here. So as we do some demonstration, we'll see things land in those two things. And we have input sources, and they map to output devices in most cases. But we're going to be focusing on email. And email is a little bit unique in that we have a single email address, one mailbox that we're dedicating to CirrusPrint. And we understand when things come into this mailbox, they might have different to addresses than this. It's not necessarily going to say printers@synergetic-data.com. And so let's jump over to Cloud Suite and give you a sense of what I mean here. If we look at printer setup in Cloud Suite, I've got a printer that's named SDSI-AMPTR. And its device is Cloud Print, space, and an email address. Now that email address is configured on our mail server as an alias. It's just allenpc.homeptr is an alias that goes to printers@synergetic-data.com, which is what CirrusPrint is watching. So I've got that defined. Let me go ahead and print an acknowledgement to the SDSI-AMPTR printer. So we'll go ahead and submit that. It'll go through the gyrations up in the cloud. Then CSD is going to email that to that printer's address, actually to the alias, but CirrusPrint knows what that is. And so here is the print job landing on my printer. Then doesn't have to be just your ERP application. We can also send things direct to the printers from our email client. So any PDF file or whatever. So I'm going to send this PDF file out to two things, both to a browser client and my printer. So this is just a local email, not the ERP email. And there it is. Okay, and then Another feature that we have is, let's go into document management here. So this is IDM, and we will go ahead and pull up a PDF file. Okay, so this is now viewing a PDF, and one thing we just touched on briefly is our web extension. The web extension understands the CirrusPrint API and can present PDF files and give me a print button. Now this is distinguished from a local print button, which is just talking to my local printers here on my desktop. The CP print button gives me access to all of the printers in my whole company, no matter where they are, as long as they're configured as output devices in CirrusPrint. We can send things to it from this PDF viewer. So I'll go ahead and send that to the printer. And there it is. Now let's go ahead and also send it out to, let's say I wanted to print to my desktop. That is down here. I'll print this PDF to there. And that's actually going to land right here in my CP files folder. So there's that IDM document sent out to both a printer at my location, but it could be any of the printers that are defined in the entire company organization, or to any file output destination as well. Okay, so one more thing is UnForm also knows how to talk to the CirrusPrint API. So let's go ahead and show you how UnForm would do that. This is the design tool. Apologize for people that aren't familiar with UnForm. Let me just give you a quick explanation. We've integrated UnForm through our deliver command, where we've got a CirrusPrint target device type, and you just tell it a document ID, a location ID, and a device ID. So in this case, I'm going to send it to my location and my home PTR printer. So there's yet another thing there. Now let me do something similar. I'm going to bring up a view of the CirrusPrint mobile client. That's this right here. So let's go ahead and change this, and I'm going to make this go to my browser. Go ahead and send that. So there's the job printed out to me wherever I am on my mobile device or my desktop browser. I can be anywhere and receive it. So then beyond this, now that I'm a user viewing this document, I can now forward that on to something else. Let's say I wanted to go ahead and print that. So I just printed that back to a printer somewhere in my company. And likewise, this mobile client also has a file upload capability so that I can print a local file to any printer in my computer or in my company's network, the company output devices. So I can actually upload a photograph or anything from my local file system on my browser and have it print or deliver to a remote file location. So that I think covers all that we wanted to talk about today, or actually to demonstrate. So let me Let me go back into our presentation. And let's see, we want to move this stuff out of the way so that I can get to slideshow and start from here. Okay, all that work to get to the next Q&A slide.
So, Alan, we had a couple questions come in.
Okay.
One is, can the server component be configured to support failover or load balancing?
Failover, yes. Load balancing, no. All of the configuration is stored local to where the server is installed. So load balancing doesn't really work at this point, but failover is easy because you can replicate the configuration and simply switch on a new server with that configuration.
All right, another question. CirrusPrint is just to manage where we sent the print, or can it also generate documents like now docs or UnForm?
No, CirrusPrint is strictly a delivery mechanism. It is limited in terms of generation to conversion, converting from one format to another when required. But it doesn't create the documents. Those must come from another application, typically an ERP or something like UnForm, which itself is driven by an ERP.
Okay, we've got another question. Any issues with printing to zebra printers that use ZPL for barcodes?
No, we can, and I know that I pointed out the different print languages that we understand, but we also understand a hands-off approach where you don't tell us anything about it. You're responsible then for making sure that what gets sent to the printer is supported by the printer. We'll just pass it straight through. And at that point, CirrusPrint is just a routing mechanism.
Any issues with CirrusPrint running through a SQL Cloud server?
Through a cloud SQL, well, CirrusPrint is just an application, so it can run on a server that has other applications running on it. Was that the question? It doesn't require a dedicated server.
Did that answer? Was that a good answer? I'm waiting to see if there's a follow-up here.
I'm going to jump on here. This is Gloria, cloaked here for a moment. I'm going to ask you, Alan, you touched base about the attributes of UnForm. And for those not familiar with it, I'm going to ask Christy Mitchum if you can please go ahead and type that into the chat box so that people can jump over to your website and take a look at that also and how that works in tandem with CirrusPrint too.
Okay.
Cool. And this one, I think I can answer. Is the pricing model by printers or how? And yet it's based on the number of devices. So printers, mobile, wherever you're printing to, that counts as a device. It's very reasonably priced.
One thing about the browser client is it is a named user license, basically. I mean, we don't care how many different devices you connect from, desktop, home PC, phone, tablet, all those things, as long as you have been given a login, basically. That's all, we count that as a single device.
Those were all the open questions. We'll give it another minute or so and see if any more come in. And I guess that, Alan, I think that's all the questions.
Okay. Here you go, Paul.
Well, we want to thank you guys for taking the time out today. If you have any questions at all, we've got all of our documentation. There's some videos, and there's a free evaluation copy available on CirrusPrint.com. And if you do want to try an evaluation, just let us know, and we can help you if needed. You can contact me. There's my name and email address, or the sales team at Synergetic Data. And the support team is always there to assist as needed. So Gloria, I think that's all we had for today.
Well, as always, guys, you do a great job. Thank you so much, Alan and Paul, for sharing the CirrusPrint cloud printing attributes today. And also Christy Meacham, who is behind the scenes working silently. Thank you for joining us too as part of the presenting team today. This does wrap up our 2020 webinar content for the year. So watch your inbox for the first program in 2021 when Andy Weeds shares where continuous improvement falls short. TUG members, just a quick reminder, if you still have any additional questions, post them to the TUG members only forum on the fax board for a quick response or to continue this ongoing dialogue. For those of you who have not yet joined and become members, please do visit www.theusergroup.org and join us. And cheers to wishing each one of you all the joys of the holiday season. And as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap.